Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. A reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 5, Text 36. Narada Muni cursed by Prajapati Daksha. Now, we don't have the verse on the board, but all the verses are wonderful, so we'll read this one anyway, although it was also read yesterday. And then we'll go to verse 36. So we will do this one also, because it is there for us to read. Etavad uktva prayayo, avad ukta prayayo, narado mokadarshanaha. Te pichan vagamam margam, ratvinam ivamarisha. Chant. Ittavarukta prayaya, avada mahadarshana. Te pichan vagamam margam, Jinam eva marisha. Itavaruta prayaya. Aradamo hadarshana. Ebisham vagamam margam. Ratinam eva marisha. Avata prayaya, narada mahadarshana, ipicham vagamam margam, vinameva marisha. Ladies. I already have it. I'm allergic. It's okay. Ratyam eva marisha. Etavata prayaya. Darshana. Tipisham vagamam margam. Eva marisha. Etava prayaya, narada mahadarshana, dipicham vagamam margam, ratinam eva marisha. Etavat, this much, uktva, speaking, prayaya, departed from that place. Narada, the great sage Narada. Avakadarshana, whose glance is all auspicious. Te, they. Api, also. Cha, and. Anvagamam, followed. Margam, the path. Pratrinam, of their previous brothers. Eva, indeed. Marisha, O great Aryan king. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Shukadeva Goswami continued, O best of the advanced Aryans, after saying this much to the sons of Prajapati Daksha, Narada Muni, whose merciful glance never goes in vain, left, as he had planned. The sons of Daksha followed their elder brothers. Not attempting to produce children, they engaged themselves in Krishna consciousness. And now, today's verse 36. Shri Daksha uvacha aho asadho satunam sadhu lingena nastvaya asadvakarya bakanam bhikshur marga pradarshitaha. Translation. Prajapati Daksha said, "Alas, Narada Muni, you wear the dress of a saintly person, but you are not actually a saint. Indeed, although I am now in Grihastha life, I am a saintly person. By showing my sons the path of renunciation, you have done me an abominable injustice." Purport. It's a bit of a long purport, so we might have to summarize each paragraph as we go. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Sannyasira pachita sarvalokegai." CC Madhya 1251. In society, one will find many sannyasis, vanapras, grihastas, and brahmacharis. But if all of them properly live in accordance with their duties, they are understood to be sadhus. Prajapati Daksha was certainly a sadhu because he had executed such great austerities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, had appeared before him. Nevertheless, he had a fault-finding mentality. He improperly thought Narada Muni to be a sadhu or non-saintly because Narada had foiled his intentions. Desiring to train his sons to become grihastas, fully equipped with knowledge, Daksha had sent them to execute austerities by Narayana, Saras. Narada Muni, however, taking advantage of their highly elevated position and austerity, instructed them to become Vaishnavas in the renounced order. This is the duty of Narada Muni and his followers. They must show everyone the path of renouncing this material world and returning home back to Godhead. Prajapati Daksha, however, could not see the exaltedness of the duties Narada Muni performed in relation to his sons. Unable to appreciate Narada Muni's behavior, Daksha accused Narada of being a sadhu. So first paragraph is about sadhu and asadhu. And sometimes devotees don't appreciate each other's service so much. And so because they don't appreciate, they get in the way of their service, and they call the other one, you're not a saint, you're not a devotee. So this is the first paragraph. The words bhikshur mark the path of renounced order are very significant in this regard. Sannyasi is called Chidanti Bhikshu because his duty is to beg alms from the homes of grihastas and to give the grihastas spiritual instructions. Sannyasi is allowed to beg from door to door, but a grihasta cannot do so. Grihastas may earn their living according to the 4 divisions of spiritual life. A Brahmana grihasta may earn his livelihood by becoming a learned scholar and teaching people in general how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He may also assume the duty of worship himself. Therefore it is said, only Brahmanas may engage in deity worship, and they may accept as prasad whatever people offer the deity. Although a Brahmana may sometimes accept charity, it is not for his personal maintenance, but for the worship of the deity. Thus a Brahmana does not stock anything for his future use. Similarly, Kshatriyas may collect taxes from the citizens. They must also protect the citizens, enforce rules and regulations, maintain law and order. Vaishyas should earn their livelihood through agriculture and cow protection, and Shudras should maintain their livelihood by serving the 3 higher classes. Unless one becomes a Brahmana, one cannot take sannyas. Sannyasis and brahmacharis may beg alms door to door, but a grihasta cannot. So this paragraph is about begging door to door, and also about the duties of the different ashrams. They have different duties. And I can say one thing about that in the beginning of creation of Lord Brahma, when he created the 4 ashrams, he gave them different duties. The 4 ashrams are meant to uphold the 4 legs of religion. The brahmacharis are meant to uphold the leg of education and cleanliness. They're supposed to be clean and knowledge. The grihastas are supposed to uphold daya, mercy, and dana, or charity. So they're all created in the varnashram to uphold the 4 legs of religion. And this is in 3rd canto, I believe chapter 12, when it talks about the creation of Lord Brahma. And the vanaprasthas are meant to uphold the leg of austerity, tapa. And the sannyasis are meant to uphold the leg of satya, or truthfulness. So these are the duties of the 4 ashramas, and also they have their duties according to this purport. Now the third, there's a lot of, so we'll summarize each paragraph so you don't get lost and fall asleep. Prajapati Daksha condemned Narada Muni because Narada, a brahmachari who could beg from door to door, had made sannyasis of Daksha's sons who were being trained to be grihastas. Great offense. Daksha was extremely angry at Narada because he thought Narada had done him a great injustice. According to Daksha's opinion, Narada Muni had misled Daksha's inexperienced sons, Asad Vakari Abharkanam. Daksha regarded his sons as innocent boys who had been misled when Narada showed them the renounced order of life. Because of all these considerations, Prajapati Daksha charged Narada Muni was a sadhu and should not have adopted the dress of a sadhu. So this paragraph is about the reasons why Daksha is calling Narada Muni a sadhu. His sons are supposed to be grihastas, not sannyasis. But actually, a lot of us, we have children in Krishna consciousness, we have so many plans for them. Oh, there will be this, such a great devotee, there will be this. But actually, they have their own plan. We can't actually tell them what they're going to do. One devotee from here, she was saying, her daughter was 8. When my daughter is 17, she's going to do this, this, and this. I said, don't be so sure. Your daughter's going to do that, that, and that when she's 17. She may do what she wants to do. So this is this paragraph. Sometimes a saintly person is misunderstood by grihastas, especially when he instructs their young sons to accept Krishna consciousness. Generally, a grihasta thinks unless one enters grihasta life, he cannot properly enter the renounced order. If a young man immediately adopts the path of renounced order in accordance with the instructions of Narada or a member of his disciplic succession, his parents become very angry. The same phenomenon is occurring in our Krishna consciousness movement because we are instructing all the young boys in the Western countries to follow the path of renunciation. We allow grihasta life, but a grihasta also follows the path of renunciation. And we can say that when we joined, we were all one. We were in the temple. We were with the brahmacharis. There weren't any sannyasis. We were with the brahmacharis. We were all expected to be sannyasis, even though we were grihastas. Even a grihasta has to give up so many bad habits that his parents think his life has been practically destroyed. We allow no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, and no intoxication. And consequently, the parents wonder how, if there are so many no's, one's life can be positive. In the Western countries especially, these 4 prohibited activities practically constitute the life and soul of the modern population. Therefore, parents sometimes dislike our movement. Just as Prajapati Daksha disliked the activities of Narada and accused Narada of dishonesty. Nevertheless, although parents may be angry at us, we must perform our duty without hesitation because we are in disciplic succession from Narada Muni. So in this paragraph, Prabhupada compares himself with Narada Muni. Narada Muni was encouraging everyone to take up Krishna consciousness and leave the materialistic life, and Prabhupada did the same. And in our lecture, we will also compare Prabhupada and Narada Muni and how they were very similar in their approach. Last paragraph. People addicted to householder life wonder how one can give up the enjoyment of grihasta life, which is a concession for sex enjoyment, simply to become a mendicant in Krishna consciousness. They do not know that the householder's concession for sex life cannot be regulated unless one accepts the life of a mendicant. The Vedic civilization therefore enjoins at the end of one's 50th year one must give up household life. This is compulsory. However, because modern civilization is misled, householders want to remain in family life until death, and therefore they are suffering. In such cases, the disciples of Narada Muni advise all the members of the younger generation to join the Krishna conscious movement immediately. There is nothing wrong in this. Mukkam karati vachalam pangam langhete girim yakipaltamam vande shigurum dinatavinam amagana timirandasya gananjara shakaya chakshumiritam yena tasamay shigurave namaha. So there were many points in this purport, and I will discuss two of the points. The first point is the fault-finding mentality, and the second point will be the preaching of Narada Muni, his preaching tactics. He has different tactics of preaching, which we have seen in this canto already, two different tactics. There will be one more at the end. But I will go throughout the Bhagavatam in different examples of how Narada Muni used different preaching tactics, and I will compare them to Srila Prabhupada's preaching tactics also. And Prabhupada had different tactics. He did not accept everyone. He did not preach to everyone in the same way. I think it was Suvekshana in his class on Sunday that said that Narada Muni had a bridge. He was bridge preaching. He was the original bridge preacher. And Prabhupada also did that. It's something that some of our devotees do now, maybe not here, but in Australia especially. They have a yoga. They teach yoga, and then they make devotees from this yoga teaching, because everybody wants to do yoga, but not everybody wants to be a devotee. So they kind of trick them into being devotees. So fault-finding mentality is a negative attitude. According to nectar of instruction, advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. This is in the preface. So Prabhupada in this purport is saying Daksha has a fault-finding attitude, negative, critical attitude. So if you have this attitude, it causes you unhappiness, causes others unhappiness. People don't want to be around you. And it breaks your tender bhakti lata creeper, which is growing in your heart. It breaks off the leaves. It dries it up. But Krishna consciousness is sukham, kartum. It's a joyful process. Symptom of goodness is that you're always joyful. Nishtha. Srila Prabhupada said, if you are unhappy, then that means you're in Maya. If you're not happy, if you're not jolly in Krishna consciousness. In the Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, verse 20, it says, Evam prasana manaso bhakti yoga prayojita, that someone who is doing Krishna consciousness, he comes to the level of joyfulness when he comes to the mode of goodness. And then he can understand. When you're in goodness, you can understand Krishna consciousness. You can understand the philosophy. If you're in passion and ignorance, then there's a huge block in your mind. So, previously, Daksha had been critical to Lord Shiva in Canto 4, and the result was his daughter committed suicide and he got the head of a goat. So, it's not good to have a critical mentality. His daughter said, twice-born Daksha, a man like you, simply finds fault in the qualities of others. Lord Shiva, however, not only finds no faults with others' qualities, but if someone has a little good quality, he magnifies it greatly. Unfortunately, you have found fault with such a great soul. Now, Prabhupada said, among the uncommonly good souls, there are gradations. The best soul is one who accepts an insignificant asset of a person and magnifies that good quality. So Prabhupada had that. We were mlechas, yavanas, and he did say that sometimes, but mostly he encouraged us. He saw the good. And once time in L.A., Shuddhakirti says that Prabhupada said, if it were not for the chanting of Maha Mantra, you boys and girls could not do anything. In the West, you've used so many drugs, you cannot accomplish anything. Chanting Hare Krishna has enabled you to make all these temples and devotees. Simply Krishna's mercy and the chanting. And I believe it's still going on in that way, that we don't have qualification in this Kali Yuga, Kalau Shuddha Sambhava. Nobody is born a great Brahmana. But if we chant Hare Krishna and have Krishna's mercy, we can make advancement. We can do something for Krishna. Now, Sudama, he was one of my godbrothers, and he talked to Prabhupada, and he was upset because devotees were criticizing him that he didn't know a lot of slokas, he didn't know Sanskrit so much. Prabhupada said, if you think you've become spiritually advanced and you start acting a role, you'll become mad. So if you try to go above your level of advancement, then it's not going to work. Prabhupada said to Sudama, Sudama said, they criticize me, I don't know Sanskrit, I don't chant enough, I don't quote slokas. Prabhupada said, oh, they sound like my godbrothers. Sudama, you speak from your heart. That's all that counts. Krishna doesn't care if you can't quote slokas. You're a darn good preacher. You bring many people because of your heart. He said, you cook samosas, you chant beautifully. You have love for Krishna. Don't make things so complicated. What else is needed? It's very simple. So Prabhupada always saw the good in us, even though we had so many bad qualities. So if you meditate on the negative, then one day you'll find that you yourself are doing exactly what you criticize the others for. Bhurijan always tells us a very nice story. He was taking prasadam, and one devotee was sitting across, and he had his leg up and his hand like this, and he was eating, and Bhurijan was looking, and he said, oh, how can he sit like that? And every day he was thinking, how can he sit like that? And then after 2 weeks, Bhurijan started sitting like that. And it was like, so this happens. We meditate on the negative. Then we start doing it ourselves. So, and another thing, when I first came to Vrindavan, Bhurijan was there. And I went to take darshan of his deities. He had 3 monkeys on the altar. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. He said, when you're in the dham, that's how you should behave. And then we were walking and we saw a monkey sleeping on the roof. He said, and think no evil. So this is very important. You can try an experiment. I was trying it in preparation for this class. You go through your day and you watch your mind. You watch your mind, how many times your mind criticizes somebody. You just see some person, yeah, that person is like this. I tried it, and wow, I didn't realize how negative my mind was, very critical, because I'm a good editor, right? So, you're critical. So, ISKCON, we can criticize ISKCON, so many people criticize devotees, has its faults. But if you want to see change in ISKCON or in anybody, then the best way is to change yourself. You have to be an example of what you want to see in others. Just by your life, you can inspire people. People will see you. They'll say, hey, I knew her before. The process is working. She's getting a lot better. I remember in my youth, I was very passionate. I used to fight all the time. Now, Krishna consciousness has done its job after 44 years. I'm a lot better. It's only mental now. It doesn't come to the verbal so much. But still, that has to go too. That we have to become mentally also proper. So now the second part of my lecture will be about Narada Muni and his preaching tactics according to time, place, and circumstance. With each of his disciples, he used a different technique to inspire them in devotional service. Even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll see Lord Chaitanya would give different instructions to different disciples. One, he will take sannyas. You go to Grihastha. You earn money. So he would give different instructions. So Prabhupada explained expert devotees, they devise novel ways and means to convert the non-devotees. They discover. Because devotional service is dynamic. It's not static. And expert devotees find out exciting ways to inject it in the dull brains of materialistic people. So first in Bhagavatam, in the first canto, we heard how Vyasadeva was depressed. He was depressed. He wrote the Vedas, he wrote Vedanta, but still he wasn't satisfied. He was dissatisfied. So Narada Muni came, he chastised him. He said, why have you forgotten Krishna? The people in general, they're naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is condemned and quite unreasonable. So he wrote the Vedas, people can enjoy. Prabhupada compared the Vedas to medicine which is covered with candy. So Prabhupada said, most people, they'll take the candy. I want the candy. And throw away the medicine. The children, medicine, this is nice candy, take. No. I'll just take the candy and throw away the medicine. So, but Daksha's sons, they took the medicine and they threw away the candy. And Daksha was unhappy because they didn't want to do karma kanda. We cannot follow this karma kanda now. It's very, very difficult. So for us, the medicine is Harinam. Bhavoshadi. Bhagavatam says, take your medicine. Lord Chaitanya says, Enechi Oshadi Maya, I've come to give you the medicine. Harinam Mahamantra. This is our medicine. So Narada, he was chastising Vyasadeva. Now Shudakirti says, Prabhupada didn't chastise me too much because he knew I couldn't take it. He would chastise Tamal a lot. And Tamal would fight back. And Shudakirti, Prabhupada would chastise him. And he wouldn't say anything. And Prabhupada said, you're no fun. You don't fight back. So for different disciples, he had different techniques. And so then Narada told Vyasadeva, you have to talk about Krishna. And he wrote Bhagavatam. And Bhagavatam can take away all our miseries. Anarto pashamam sakshat bhakti yogam adhoksaje. Can take away all our miseries. So with Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva was a little child. So how did Narada, what tactic did he use for Dhruva Maharaj? Reverse psychology. You tell the child to do something, he'll do the opposite. He'll say no. So, he used reverse psychology. Narada, when Dhruva wanted to go, he went to the forest, I'm going to do austerities, I'm going to get my kingdom. Narada said, you're just a little boy. You're attached to games. Why are you so affected with insulting words? You know, dissatisfaction is due to illusory energy, which gives you karma according to your previous life. You know, these austerities in the forest are difficult for anyone to do. Better you just go home. When you grow up, you can think about austerities. One should be happy and satisfied in happiness and distress. So Dhruva Maharaj, what did he do? He said, no, I'm staying here in the forest. Reverse psychology. And so then Narada, he was testing his determination, and he gave him, okay, you take devotional service. You take bhakti yoga. Prabhupada understood reverse psychology. One time, they were in one temple, and some teenagers were on the road, and they were going back and forth and revving their motorbikes in front of the temple. And the devotee said, shall we tell them to stop? Prabhupada said, no, then they will do it even more. Don't tell them to stop. And one interesting thing I asked when my son was a teenager, I asked His Holiness Mahavishnu Maharaj, who's no longer with us. He's the old gentleman. I said, so Maharaj, how do you deal with teenagers? He said 2 words. He gave me 2 words advice. Don't talk. That was his advice for me, how to deal with, because, you know, you have so many ways you want to, but they're not going to listen. So better don't talk. My god sister, she used reverse psychology when she was out on Harinam, on book distribution in America. There is this one Christian man, and her girls were trying to distribute books, and he was coming, and between the people and the devotees, he said, don't buy the books, don't buy it, it's bad, it's this, it's that. So the girls came to my god sister, she was in charge, and they said, oh, this man, he's doing this. So she went to where she started distributing. The man came, and she said to the people, oh, this is our Uncle Kamsa. We are using reverse psychology today. Whatever he says, you do the opposite. And for a few hours, she did that. And the man, after a while, he felt like part of the family. You know, oh, uncle, I'm the uncle. And he took a book, actually. So reverse psychology. It worked on the people were taking, and the uncle took. So, yeah, smart devotees, they know how to actually use different ways to get the people. So a next tactic, he used reverse psychology. King Prachanabarhi was a descendant of Dhruva Maharaj, very attached to animal sacrifice. He was doing one after the other in line. And so Narada showed him in the sky, just see all the animals you've killed in the sacrificial arena. They're waiting for you to die so they can avenge the injuries you have inflicted on them. After you die, they'll pierce your body with iron horns. So Prabhupada says in the purport that Narada Muni, he wanted to convince the king overindulgence in animal sacrifice is risky because as soon as there's a small mistake in the sacrifice, then the slaughtered animal may not get a human form, and the person who's doing the sacrifice is responsible for the death, just like a murderer. So he was showing, there's been a lot of mistakes in your sacrifice here, and this is what's going to happen to you. So that was another technique. He showed him the future. Now, the Haryashvas, Daksha's first group of sons, Narada saw, they're so purified, I'll just give them the philosophy. He preached, they accepted, and they took sannyas. Now, King Prachanabarhi's sons, they were not like Daksha's sons. They were prachetas, pure devotees. So Narada told them pure devotional service. He said, you show mercy to all living beings, being satisfied, control the senses, and you can satisfy the Supreme Lord. So he instructed them in pure devotional service. So Prabhupada, in the purport to this verse from 4th canto, he says that everyone can benefit by chanting Hare Krishna. Even the trees, animals, and insects are benefited. So when one chants Hare Krishna, he shows mercy to all living entities. So this is, again, our path, chanting Hare Krishna. So when Prabhupada came to America, USA, he said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we said, yeah, right, great. He's got long hair, he's enjoying, he's dancing, he's singing, he's playing the flute. Yeah, right. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Yes, for sure. Sarvadharma, he said, Sarvadharma Prititaja, give up all religiosity. He said, anyway, you don't have to worry. You've already done that part. You've already given up all religiosity. Just surrender to Krishna. So we took that. Yes, we'll surrender to Krishna. Now, India, he would say, surrender to Krishna. He said, why not Durga? Why not Shiva? Why not Ganesh? So therefore, Prabhupada used a different technique. Just like the Shavalasvas, the second group of brothers of the Haryashvas, Daksha's second group of sons. He gave the philosophy, then he said, now follow your brothers. So in India, Prabhupada, when he was preaching in India, nobody listened. Then he went to America, he brought the Westerners. Because Indians were following America. So he said, okay, you want to follow Americans? Here. They're Vaishnavas. You be Vaishnava. Follow the Americans. So he's using the same psychology as Narada Muni. He's like, follow them. You want to follow? Okay, follow the Americans. When I was in Vrindavan many years ago on Radhashtami, I had an interview with Star TV. And they asked me, why are you in such a godforsaken village? Of course, now it's become very big, but in those days it was not. Why did you leave your rich, opulent country and come to Vrindavan? I said, because in my country, they have very nice tall buildings, they have very nice roads, but there's no happiness, there's no peace, there's no soul. I said, because that's why I came here. Here, I can find the essence of life. I can find Krishna. I can find the soul. It's a soulless civilization in the West. So that's why we came. We came here. Now, I think this is the last one. No, this is not the last one. There's Chitraketu. When Chitraketu was lamenting, first Narada Muni gave him a son, Harshashoka. And then after the son died, he said, okay, good time to preach. The son's died, let me go and deliver Chitraketu. So again, preaching tactic, and he waited till the death of his son. He brought the son back. The son preached to him, and then he left everything, King Chiketu, and he got darshan of the Lord in Vaikuntha. He tried the same with Daksha, but Daksha didn't work. Doesn't always work. So he'll have another thing at the end. We'll see what Narada Muni does. Narada preached to Mrigari the hunter. He used a gradual approach. The hunter was half killing the animals. He said, you completely kill them, don't half kill them. That was his first instruction. Not, okay, be a chant Hare Krishna. And no, he said, just fully kill the animals. So then, after that, when Mrigari was astonished, then Narada also showed him, look at the animals, they're going to come and kill you after you die. So then Mrigari surrendered, and then Narada said, okay, break your bow. No more killing, and you worship Tulsi, chant Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada had the gradual approach. In the beginning, there were no rules and regulations. Prabhupada said he thought if I tell them all these rules and regulations, they would just run away. And probably they would have. So the first initiation in New York in 1966, no one was asked to shave their head. I think some of them were wearing jeans. They didn't have to cut their hair, change their dress. No one gave Guru Dakshina. Hardly anyone helped him in the cooking for the feast. It was Janmashtami. So he had to do most of the cooking, the preparations, Prabhupada. He was aware of the mentality of his boys. He didn't try to force anything. Some of the devotees didn't know till after initiation, after they asked the question about the four regulative principles. They didn't have to say it. They didn't know. And after they said, these four regulative principles, does that have something to do with initiation? And Prabhupada's reply was, I'm very glad you're finally asking me that. So, Prabhupada he used the gradual approach, gulab jamuns in the jar, and it saved many of us from leaving the prasad, very opulent prasadam. Especially in Boston, was very austere. We didn't get prasad until the feast, after we were fasting pretty much during the week. But anyway, so many austerities we did in India, coming to India. I won't talk about it, we don't have time. But as Narada Muni did, so did Srila Prabhupada. And because of his preaching, we're all here today. So, we have one more minute. I'll talk a little bit about Vrindavan Das Thakur. It's his disappearance day today. He was the son of Narayani Devi, niece of Srivas Pandit. She became mad with love of God, getting the mercy of Lord Gauranga. She was the example of how, she was the proof that Lord Chaitanya is God. He showed her, see, I am God. I'm going to make this child have ecstasy. So then he made her immediately ecstatic, and they believed, oh yes, okay, you are the Supreme Lord who has come. So later she gave birth to Vrindavan Das Thakur, who was the last disciple of Nityananda Prabhu, and he wrote Chaitanya Bhagavat on the order of Nityananda. So Krishnadas Kaviraj praises Vrindavan Das Thakur. He says he is Lord Nityananda's favorite devotee. He's the original Vyasadeva in describing Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. So he says, if you hear Chaitanya Bhagavat, it destroys all misfortune. If you read Chaitanya Bhagavat, you'll understand the glories of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. And you will get pure love of Krishna. Since such a wonderful book could not be written by a human being, we should understand Lord Chaitanya has spoken through the mouth of Vrindavan Das Thakur. So, at Mamagachi Moda Drumadvip, Vrindavan Das established deities of Nitai Gauranga and Sri Jagannath. He lived there as a celibate and worshipped his deities, and he had many disciples, including Gopinath Brahmachari, descendant of Keshav Bharati. In Krishna's pastimes, Vrindavan Das Thakur is Srila Vyasadeva. So he wrote that in the future, representatives of Vyasadeva will elaborately describe the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. He predicted, and this was confirmed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So now it's exactly time up. And we can maybe have one question if somebody has a question. And anybody who needs to go, you can go now. Yes.
For your class. Here we see that Daksha had the duty to train his sons to help him in the procreation, and then that's why he addressed Narada Muni. So I see, well, I can remember when I joined, happened me something similar. Before considering joining the family of devotees, I didn't have any problem in fault finding. I mean, I like my family, my parents, and like that. But when I joined, then I just, one day I remove all their teens with meat and things like that. So it happens, no? So, as I see, it's easier not to offend anyone without oneself giving the steps one has to do in one's duty. Because Daksha was a sage, we heard now, no? But when he had to do his duty as a parent, and it was Narada Muni there, he didn't know how to do that properly. So sometimes it's easier not to step forward in order to not commit mistakes, that doing one's duty in a way that is not going to be offensive to others. So if you
okay. Well, that's a comment.
No.
I didn't hear the question.
How can
but
the attitude, and how can we perform our duty?
Well, what's the question? I didn't get it. How can we perform our duty?
Yeah, I mean,
without being offensive.
Because
how do we? Okay, I'll give you 2 words. No expectations. Duty means no expectations. Anything else, you have expectations. And that I get from Shikshastika, Chanarapi Sunichina, Tarariva Sahishina, Amanina Manadena, Kirtanaya Sadahari. Amanina Manadena. You have no expectations, and you give everyone else what you expect from them. So Lord Chaitanya has given us how to do our duty. And if you can actually perfect this, you come to Nishta, which is a very high level for us in this age. Any other question?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. My question is that Daksha, he got association from Narada Muni, but he was not benefited. Why?
Why didn't Daksha get the benefit of association of Narada Muni? The answer is in this purport. Because his heart was blocked by critical mentality. If you have the critical mentality, you won't get the mercy. Because how can you? Your guru is saying something and you're mentally criticizing. Somebody's trying to give knowledge, you're criticizing. So therefore Gita says the process of knowledge begins with humility. Amanitvam, adambitvam. Because if you're not humble, that means you think you know it, then how you're going to learn? So his heart was closed. In order to receive love of Godhead, I have heard that the heart, there is a pot which with you can receive love of God. And the pot is in your heart. Your heart is like a pot. And it's made of 4 things. Again, Trinadapi Sunichina, Torariva Sahishina, Amanina, Manadena, Kirtanaya Stahari. That means you're humbler than the blade of grass, more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer our respects to others. Devoid of sense of false prestige means you don't expect anything from others. So this is, if you have all the 4 things, false prestige, you have all these things, then you won't get it. Lord Chaitanya is very simple. Lord Chaitanya has given us the recipe for for making ourselves receptive to the mercy. So yes, Narada was trying to give the mercy to Daksha, but Daksha would not accept the mercy.
in previous
He
life.
offended Lord Shiva. But he begged forgiveness. He got, he did okay. And once he got the goat's head, he realized his mistake. And he begged forgiveness, and Lord Shiva forgave him. But now again, he did it again. So let's see what happens. Okay, any other? All right. Okay.
My question is, how can we help when we find dakshas in our way, in our life, friends, family, God brothers and sisters, even our own selves? When we encounter this mentality, how can we help get it out of the way in others and in ourselves too?
So the question is how to help others. Is that the full question, or?
People who have this...
who have the fault-finding.
mentality.
Yeah, well, with yourself, you can try this experiment. Go one day without finding fault, even mentally. And then you'll be I was shocked. I didn't realize, I thought I'm a pretty good devotee, No. But, okay, there's only one way to correct the fault-finding mentality, and that is that you have to be an example. And it's the only way. You can't change anyone except by your example. If you're the example, you can change everyone. And if you are also fault-finding, what can you do? No one will listen. She's also fault-finding. Here's a question from online. Could you please explain if fault-finding tendency is wrong under all circumstances? My question is it wrong to fault-find without any qualification? Or is it wrong to fault-find out of envy? Yes, it's wrong to fault-find out of envy. It is wrong to fault-find without any qualification. Those two are... But if you're the guru, Prabhupada says it's the guru's duty to find fault in the disciple or the parent. So if you're a guru or a parent or a teacher even, then you're allowed. If you're qualified, of course. That's the catch. If you're not qualified, if you're a drunkard or whatever, then forget it. But if you that's Rishabhadev's instruction. You should not be guru, you should not be parent, you should not be teacher unless you can liberate your descendants. So yes, qualification. Another question. How can I give Krishna consciousness to my son who is a teenager without talking? Example. I don't know. That was Mahavishnu Maharaj, and we can't ask him now. But what I learned from experience is that when we have teenagers, we do talk too much to them. So somehow, don't talk Prajalpa. That's all. Talk about Krishna. Find the good in the teenager. Encourage him when he's doing something Krishna conscious, and don't give him attention when he's not so much. Because Srila Prabhupada said from the age of 10 to 16 you can discipline, and from 16 you have to be the friend. So you have to approach them more like an adult, like a friend, once they're 16 years, according to Srila Prabhupada. Up to 5 they can do everything, anything. From, it's 5? Well, yeah, actually from the age of 5 you get discipline. Yeah. But then, without talking... Yeah, what he means is, without trying to change them. Yeah, your example, and then you have to give a lot of encouragement when they do the right thing. And you cannot force them to do the right thing either. Like force them to chant, force them to go to the temple. I did it. With my son, I forced him till he was 16. I said, when you're 16, then it's your choice. Yeah, so what to do? Any other questions or comments? Okay, Jai Shri Prabhupada, thank you. All glories to Shri Prabhupada.